We all have that random game that we remember playing as a kid that pops into our head every now and then. For me, one of those games is Pop Cutie's Street Fashion Simulator DS. I find myself thinking about this game every now and then, and it got me thinking, why did I like this game so much? Was it really that good, or am I just looking at the game through rose-tinted nostalgia goggles? That's why I wanted to take a deep dive into the game in this video. It was just another one of those fashion designer girly games that seemed to be a genre of its own on the DS that was spearheaded by games like Style Savvy. So if you were a girly girl in the late 2000s who owned a DS, chances are you may have played this game. So put on your most fashionable clothes and let's get into Pop Cutie Street Fashion Simulator. The game was released on April 24, 2008 by Koei, the company that would soon merge with Tecmo in 2009, creating Koei Tecmo, who published games such as the Atelier series and Dead or Alive, also working on Square Enix's Final Fantasy and Nintendo's Fire Emblem. Over the years, Koei has released a multitude of games under many genres with varying degrees of success. They released a Japan-only romance game series called Angelique in the 90s, which greatly promoted the development of otome games in Japan, selling over 850,000 copies. They're most well known for their long-running classic Ninja Gaiden series and all the Warriors games, with Dynasty Warriors and its many spin-offs such as Samurai Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, and Fire Emblem Warriors. Without going too deep into the company's history, let's jump back to the present day 2008. Dynasty Warriors 6 and Dynasty Warriors Gundam were some of the games they released before they decided to release Pop Cutie in 2008. I'm just speculating because there isn't much information about the game's development online, but the sudden pivot from hack and slash games and historical RPGs to that of girly fashion simulator was probably because the market demanded it at the time. A lot of fashion games were becoming more popular at the time in what was almost a sort of girly game renaissance, which saw its peak in the 2000s. I was gonna say that Pop Cutie must have been inspired by Style Savvy, which was one of the more popular fashion games at the time until I checked the release dates, and Pop Cutie was actually released 6 months before Style Savvy, which was really interesting to me. 2008 was just a peak year for fashion games. A lot of articles online back up this claim. It seems like there was a lot of hope for female-targeted games being the next big thing at the time. WhatTheyPlay.com says, with so many games, particularly on the Nintendo DS, successfully appealing to girls lately, it's no surprise that game companies are putting their foot on the gas in the space and exploring new ways of keeping our daughters attached to their little white or pink handhelds. Following Ubisoft's successful Imagine range of titles, Japanese publisher Koei is hoping to tap into girls' love of clothes and shopping with the release of Pop Cutie Street Fashion Simulation this September. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. In the fashion sim timeline, we get the Imagine series by Ubisoft first, which is a whole other can of worms. Then, Pop Cutie followed by Style Savvy. So it seems like Ubisoft was the first big name company to start this trend outside Japan, with Imagine Fashion Designer releasing in 2007. An article from June 2008 from the LA Times says, game makers say style is helping them snare more female gamers, a demographic that hasn't been specifically targeted by the starships and shotguns industry. Today, 55% of Sims 2 players are female. The female audience is the next step for video games to grow, said Jurid Sakat, U.S. Sales and Marketing Manager for Koei Corp, which will debut Pop Cutie Street Fashion Simulation for the Nintendo DS in September. DSFanboy.com says, Pop Cutie is about more than clothes. It's definitely a fashion game for geeks, if we ever saw one. So if you consider yourself a geek who has a thing for chic, check out the new screens and art in the gallery below. And then we have a comment from Ashley that says, okay. What makes Pop Cutie so special is that it's the first game to tackle street fashion released outside of Japan, and it was first released in Japan under the name That's Cutie. It's quoted as being a homage to Tokyo and Harajuku's street style. Amos Ip, Senior VP for Koi, says, Pop Cutie street fashion simulation brings together an eclectic mix of Tokyo's street style, cosplay fashion design, and trend hunting to create a game that's part retail management sim and part style exploration. As the game's shop owner, you'll compete against rival designers, hire models and staff, design new items, all in search of the ultimate fashion trend. You start off as a rookie designer with a tiny shop at a flea market. You get to design your own clothes by catching inspiration from people on the street and selling clothes and improving your store. You can also battle against other quirky fashion designers and become the coolest fashion designer in Tokyo. A review in Nintendo Power Magazine issue 233 gives the game a 6. On the surface, Pop Cutie has the appearance of sheer fluff. You get ideas for clothes from people on the street, then design and sell them to those same people. On closer inspection though, Pop Cutie shows intriguing depth, providing subtle lessons in economics such as supply and demand and staff management, educating the player without being patronizing. The game's strategy is in determining what kind of clothes to sell and how many employees to hire and watching what the competition is doing. The downside of Pop Cutie is that all of these duties are hard to accomplish due to an unbearably clunky interface that makes simple tasks difficult. There's a lesson to be learned from the game, but it's one for Koi, not one for up-and-coming fashionistas. Ouch. Okay, maybe the game wasn't as good as I remembered. So, why did I like this game so much? The things that stick out to me most are the art style, the focus on Japanese street fashion, and the unique fashion designing mechanic the game had. The art style was just so unique and adorable with this cute, vibrant, isometric 2D look. It was just such a cute game to look at. I mean, just look at the artwork in the Japanese release of the manual. There was just something so fresh, stylish, and unique about the art style of the game. It didn't really look like other girly games at the time you'd see on the DS, which often had that clunky and choppy 3D style in their games. The way you designed clothes is really cool too. You had to chat with random people on the street and catch keywords, which you could then combine with other keywords to create clothes. It created this feeling of freedom while designing clothes, which is so much more fun than just picking out some boring templates and filling it in with a color, which most fashion games tend to do. You also found colors by walking around the street, which you could then use in designing your clothes as well. The music in the game also really stuck with me. The album art was awesome, the music was super cool, and everything just felt so stylish. It's clear that the people making this game really put a lot of love into it. It's not the best game ever or anything, it's just a silly little DS game that I remember playing when I was a kid, so I hope some of you remember it too. It's highly unlikely that we'll see this unique of a game from a major publisher anytime soon, so I hope that indie devs can maybe take notes from these kind of games in the future, and maybe if we're lucky, we could see some indie games inspired by the 2008 girl game renaissance and the quirky charm of Pop Cutie. Alright, that was it. I just wanted to talk about this game because, like I said, I always find myself thinking about it from time to time, and I wanted to do a little bit of research on it and share my love for the game and see if any other people remember this random DS game from years ago. Please check out the game for yourself. I assure you you'll have a fun time. And anyways, if you watched this far, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!